Alright, so today I want to discuss something that was mentioned in the most recent Inside Infinite update, and it's pertaining to the Halo Infinite HUD, and I'm sure some of you may already know what I'm talking about at this point. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, ever since Halo 3, the layout of the HUD in every mainline Halo game has pretty much been the same. Halo 2, the only difference was instead of the shield bar being at the top middle of the screen, it was in the bottom left-hand corner with the motion tracker. And Halo CE's HUD was also similar, but there were more differences there. But ever since 2007, Halo players have become accustomed to their grenades being in the top left-hand corner of the screen, your weapons and ammo in the top right-hand corner, bottom left corner the motion tracker, and bottom right corner the score of the game. And then of course the shield bar at the top middle of the screen. And this is changing considerably with the HUD in Halo Infinite, and it just has left many players asking, why are we fixing things that were never broken? And I am in that boat as well. And in the most recent Inside Infinite update, they discussed the HUD for Halo Infinite a lot, actually. And so now I want to take a second to read to you some of what was said pertaining to the HUD in this update. So they say, for the HUD, we removed the helmet geometry, and it actually starts off pretty good. I hated the helmet geometry that they're referring to from the Halo 4 and Halo 5 campaign, where you could see parts of the helmet when you're first person. I thought that was awful and very unnecessary. I'm actually surprised. Looking back, I'm surprised they carried that over from Halo 4 to Halo 5. That was terrible, so I'm glad that's gone. And it does seem like they're mostly talking about campaign here, but some of this applies to the multiplayer as well. So they say, for the HUD, we've removed the helmet geometry and shifted persistent elements out of the top corners, like grenades and weapons, to reduce eye fatigue, cognitive load, and arena sweatiness, which were serious issues called out by Halo 5 players. Which ones? Which 5 players complained about that again? These things were caused by the layout forcing players to scan all 4 corners of the screen constantly during gameplay. We want the pressure that players feel to come from the gameplay situation and not from the HUD layout. What kind of explanation is that? And they try to make it seem like looking at these HUD elements in the corners of the screen was some tall task or something like that. They talk about scanning all 4 corners of the screen. I don't know, you mean playing video games? You mean looking at a screen playing a video game? I mean, that's pretty standard. Like when I want to check the score of the game, or check my ammo, see how many grenades I have, look at the motion tracker, I'm not scanning all 4 corners of the screen. For one, I do not need all that info at the same time. Sometimes it's a very specific thing I'm looking for. I want to see how much ammo I have. I glance, not scan, I glance at the top right corner of the screen, and that's it. And I usually do that when I'm in a safe spot of the map, when I'm not in combat. And there is plenty of times in a multiplayer match or in the campaign, because I know they're mostly talking about the campaign in this update, but there's plenty of times where it is safe to glance at the corner of the screen real quick to get that info. Like, they frame this in a way that makes it seem like more of a nuisance than it actually is. Scan all 4 corners of the screen. Again, like I said, I don't need all that info all at once. And that's part of the problem with Halo Infinite's HUD. In prior Halo games, if I wanted to know how many grenades I have and how many grenade types I have, I just look up to the top left corner of the screen and it's right there. And that's the only thing that's there. The grenades and how much of each grenade I have. It's right there, that's it. But with Halo Infinite's HUD, if I want to know how many grenades I have and how many grenade types, well, first off, with the HUD that we had during the last Halo Infinite tech preview, you couldn't even see both grenade types at the same time. They were not visible at the same time on your HUD. You had to switch over to the other grenade type to see which grenade it was. So that right there is worse than the old Halo HUD. And the other thing I think could be seen as an issue is if you want to know how many grenades you have and you look to the bottom right, well, there's a bunch of information there. There's the weapons, there's the ammo, there's your grenades, there's your equipment. There's a bunch of information crammed in that one corner, whereas in other Halo games, if I wanted to know how many grenades I have, I look to the top left and that's the only thing that's there. And when it's like that, there is less room for confusion. And now another reason people might like the old HUD better than the Halo Infinite HUD is just for the fact that that's the HUD they've been used to for a very, very long time, and now we're switching it up all of a sudden, and we're switching it in a way that is, I mean, I'd say objectively worse, because you can't see all your grenade types without having to switch through them. So I think that's safe to say that is objectively worse. To me, this definitely seems like something that is change for the sake of change. And like I read, they mentioned one of the reasonings for doing this was to reduce eye fatigue. If you're getting eye fatigue from glancing at a corner of the screen, then you probably shouldn't be playing video games. I don't think I'm ignorant for saying that. I mean, if you're getting eye fatigue from looking at the corner of a screen playing a video game, then you probably shouldn't be playing the video game unless you're okay with the eye fatigue. I mean, I don't really know what else to say there. And I like how they said were serious issues called out by Halo 5 players. Again, which 5 players complained about this again? You know, all right, there's some things. See, okay, maybe some people complained about it, right? And I mean, if they complained about it in Halo 5, then they would have had to have complained about it in prior Halo games as well, because the layout of the HUD in those games was the same. But let's take 343's word for it. Let's say some people did complain about this, okay? There's certain issues where it feels like 343 treats them as if the community is split. Like, half of the community wants it this way or doesn't care, and then the other half wants it this way. When in reality, it's more along the lines of most of the community, 99% of the community wants it this way or doesn't care, and then like 1% over here doesn't like it. And they will treat issues like that as if the community is split 50-50, but it's not. Overwhelming majority of people want it a certain way. And in this case, it seems like most people prefer the old Halo HUD from Halo 3, 4, Reach, 5. It seems like most people prefer that HUD or don't care either way. And only a couple people, I mean, and I haven't seen any yet, that actually prefer the Halo Infinite HUD. And if that is the case here, if the overwhelming majority of the Halo community prefers the old Halo HUD, then I think in this situation, Halo Infinite should use the old HUD. Because, like, for one, most people want that, and two, that's the way it has been in Halo for so long. I didn't see anybody complaining about the way the HUD was before. From all my time playing Halo, I've never seen a single person complain. And like I said, I think it's safe to say the Halo Infinite HUD is objectively worse. So, because like I mentioned, you can't see both of your grenade types at the same time when looking at it. Also within this blog, they also said, Chad said, we are planning to bring some player customizable elements into our HUD, so stay tuned. And so to me, that just kind of sounds like, hey, we've heard your feedback pertaining to the HUD in Halo Infinite, and we'll do something about it post-launch. I mean, that's what that sounds like to me. I could be wrong. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Halo Infinite's HUD. I wouldn't call it bad. I don't think it's bad. I just think that the older HUD is better, and that they shouldn't have changed it. And for as long as I've been playing Halo, and other people I know, we never seen a single person complain about the HUD in prior Halo games. I find it much easier and faster to obtain the information that I need with the old Halo HUD as opposed to the Halo Infinite HUD. And that's not just because I'm used to the HUD in prior Halo games. I just feel like that HUD was better and it was easier to obtain information at faster rates. And I have yet to see what is the real benefit for Halo Infinite having the HUD the way that it is. Like, why is that better? Is it because a lot of the information is less spread out and all in one spot? I don't see that as being better, because then that bottom right corner is more cluttered. There's a bunch of information there, and people might feel like it takes a little bit longer to actually get the info that they're looking for when you have a bunch of info cluttered in one corner of the screen, whereas, like I said before, if you want to know how many grenades you have, you'll look in the top right hand corner of the screen and there it is, and that's the only thing that's there, your grenades. Did 343 think that having these HUD elements spread out to different corners of the screen was too cluttered? I wouldn't call that clutter, I would just call that info, and I never found that to be a problem. I never found myself complaining that any of these HUD elements got in the way, or I couldn't see somebody because of the ammo indicator. That was never the case for me. And also, one thing I didn't mention, if 343's concern here is clutter on the screen, then I have no idea what the thought process was to put the players that you killed, your points and your medals in the middle of the screen. I don't get that at all. Why is that shit in the middle of the screen? That was something that screwed me up playing Halo Infinite. That stuff was actually getting in the way and blocking certain things, blocking enemies. I don't know what that's about. That's like developer sabotage right there. That's how that seems. There's no way that they thought that was a good idea to put all that shit in the middle of the screen? What? Really? That confuses me, and I don't know why I haven't seen more people talking about that. It tells you who you killed in the middle of the screen. It says you killed so-and-so. Well, first off, when I'm shooting at that player, their name is above their head, so maybe I saw that. And also, it pops up in the kill feed in the bottom left. It tells you who you killed there. So, why is it also saying you're telling me twice, and the second time you're telling me is in the middle of my screen, where I need to see shit? And you also pop up the points there, and the medals there as well, in the center of the screen. And medals in Halo Infinite don't stay on your screen really long. I've seen some people criticize that, and I don't like that either. And the reason for that is probably because they pop up in the center of the screen, and 343 knows that it's blocking shit, and you need to see things in the center of your screen. So that's probably why they don't stay around too long. Like, put that shit back in the bottom left. In the bottom left, where you're not looking as much. You can keep the medals up longer. Like, I've been pretty positive about a lot of aspects of Halo Infinite, but this is one of those things where it's like, what were we thinking? How did we think that was a good idea? I just don't get it. I really don't get it. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this one. Hopefully the HUD in Halo Infinite gets changed. I think they will make adjustments to the HUD, or let us make adjustments to our own HUD. Post-launch, I think that'll be a thing. Maybe it'll be there at launch. I don't know. It sucks that this is something that... It sucks that something like the HUD, this has to be something we hope gets changed. When it was fine, out of all the games out there, I loved the way Halo's HUD was. I always admired it. And we changed that up for really no reason, and we made it arguably objectively worse in Halo Infinite. So it's really sad to see, but hopefully it'll get changed. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.